Microsoft Office 365 from SA user subscription license and all the risks associated with it. So maybe I'll start with drawings first before jumping to the actual rules. What is a Microsoft Office what is a Microsoft 365 from SA subscription? If an organization, if your company or your public sector organization or your non-profits are probably different, educational organization, if it has, used to have, maybe still has, maybe you haven't yet switched to a Microsoft 365, an enterprise agreement in which there are licenses, or there were licenses, in a traditional way. Office Professional Plus with software assurance, you can only buy them with software assurance in an enterprise agreement. Windows and some sort of enterprise CAL or core CAL suite. So the traditional on-premises products. Microsoft at some point so recognized that investment into previous products, which are, well, let me write them on screen. Office Professional Plus, Windows operating system, and CAL suite. This is a one-off offer. So when you switch for the first time, and by the way, you can flip back. When you switch for the first time from this to Microsoft 365, in the next term, or this is not a common knowledge, at an anniversary, so mid-term, in your enterprise agreement, you decide to buy Microsoft 365 licenses from SA. You can only buy them if you had the qualifying licenses for the previous period of 3 years. So or that is another caveat. Anyway, so what are the benefits? So the first benefit, obviously, it's discounted because Microsoft are recognizing your investment in previous products, in previous packages, in previous core enterprise agreement platform products, right? Why did I say right? I really actually don't like people saying right, so I won't do this, I promise you. So this is firstly, the first reason is to recognize, well, that's the only reason, to recognize your investment, that's why. And that's your first benefit, the discount. The second benefit is, it's actually stipulated on this slide. So for each licensed user whom a customer assigns, anyway, so let me explain this in human language whilst you are attempting to read from the screen what's written on it. So don't read it yet, listen to me. For every user that you assign a from SA subscription license, you may also install the traditional on-premises Microsoft Office Professional Plus, not the click-to-run media, Microsoft 365 media. That is your only option if you don't have previous perpetual licenses for Microsoft Office Professional Plus. You have to, if you start from scratch or you don't have enough licenses and you subscribe for Microsoft 365 online, then you must install Microsoft Office 365 online, that click-to-run media. For those who switch from on-premises licenses to from SA, there's an exception. They may install, and by the way, current version. So say Microsoft, you have from SA licenses right now. Microsoft this year releases a new version of Office. You will be eligible to install that Office, upgrade to it during the term of the subscription. There are caveats here. We'll come to the caveats and the traps, which you have to be aware of to manage this properly. It's a good right. It's not a bad thing. So your licensed users may have one local copy of Office Professional Plus for the period of this subscription, just for their sole use, not to give to any other user, just for that user. And then the other thing also, if you buy these from SA subscriptions in an enterprise agreement, because you could also flip from, say, from an enterprise agreement to an MPSA, buy those SKUs as well in an MPSA. To MPSA, that right doesn't apply. In an enterprise agreement, you can actually also purchase then full user license, subscription licenses, user subscription licenses, full user subscription licenses, and also exercise the same exact right. So those users with full user cells are also eligible through that very long chain of caveats, also eligible to deploy one local copy per user during the term of the subscription, as long as the number of those users that are on full user licenses is not more than the users that you bought from SA SKUs for. How often does it happen? So often enough, when say an organization of 3,000 seats, and I'm talking about an actual company that I used to support, 3,000 seats, they had an enterprise agreement, they had all the users, qualified users in the previous terms, with a full package of enterprise products, enterprise platform, Office Professional Plus, Enterprise Cal Suite, and Windows Enterprise. That's what they used to have. Then they switched to Microsoft 365. And whilst on the previous enterprise agreements, you actually had to maintain what I'm looking for. You had to maintain all the qualified users on the same exact subscription. When you switch to online services, you don't have that commitment anymore. You can actually mix and match. You can assign certain packages to certain users, and then that customer profile their users to reduce costs. And what they did is they only purchased 1,000. So this was 3,000 qualified users in the previous term. Qualified users for enterprise platform. Enterprise platform. It's a bit difficult to write with this. And then they switched. At the renewal, they switched to online services. And in regards to just that M365 from SA, full package Microsoft 365 from SA subscription, they bought 1,000. Not the entire 3,000, because they can. So what then happens is, well, firstly, don't fall into the trap thinking that only 1,000 users now are eligible to run Office Professional Plus. That's not correct. Because they used to have 3,000 device licenses, or 3,000 something device licenses. They had more devices than users. So those device licenses, they don't lose them. They're perpetual. They keep them. They switched from paying for software assurance to online services, but nobody took the previous licenses from them. So they still can keep those licenses. With these 1,000 users, they may also now exercise the same rights as from software assurance on local copies, on local devices. We'll get to that. Local device. It's a very important note. On these 1,000 users, they may also upgrade now to Office 2021 when it's released. Well, they actually switched earlier, so they upgraded some of the users to Office Professional Plus 2019. Why they didn't migrate them to Click to Run Media? I don't know. I didn't ask. Compatibility reasons. Applications that are only compatible with on-premises Office. I don't really know. I didn't ask. But there may be reasons why they don't want to migrate all the users yet to Click to Run Media. They will at some point. They might not. So that was their decision. So these 1,000 users, they have this right to use a local copy of the current version of Office Professional Plus on their local devices. If you think about it, it's not really that bad, because one thing that people then again forget about is that these licenses are not lost. These licenses are perpetual. They stay with you. They're replaced with Office 365. Office 365, Microsoft 365 is purchased in addition to these licenses. So they may still be considered, unless you have relinquished them to Microsoft under some form of an NDA, whatever. I'm not going to play into this conspiracy theory games yet. There's a case right now in High Court. We'll see what they find. So disregard what I just said. what's important about this local right, local use right? So let's go back to the language. One local copy. So trap number one, and I've seen companies falling into that one. It does not apply to Citrix deployments. It's a local copy. It's only a local copy. Trap number two, it does not extend to VDIs. It's a local copy. So when you have users, say you reimage a computer, when you have users working from home, this right only applies to those company devices that you gave them. Let's say I work from home. This is my home. I work from home. You gave me a laptop as a company. I'm your employee. Imagine that I work for you. And then on that laptop, you may deploy that current version of Office Professional Plus under this Office 365 from a, say, user subscription license. But you may not deploy another one for me in a Citrix server or in a VDI or anyhow else remotely, even on a physical desktop. This right is only applicable to a local copy per user. That's another trap, unfortunately. And I explained a very similar situation with Visio and project licenses when you have rights to use traditional Visio and project under online subscriptions. There's a video on this channel. I'll try and put where's that corner? I'll try and put a card here when I publish this. There's a video on this channel which talks about how to use rights to deploy traditional Visio and project under online subscription licenses. The problem is, if it's not working from home, if it's the office. So imagine for some reason, you may don't want to use the previous perpetual licenses. You just want to execute the rights that you've got through Microsoft 365 through Microsoft 365 from a, say, user subscription license. And you want those users who are licensed with the user SLs and also those users that you license in addition according to the terms outlined here. I took this from Product Terms website. It's nothing I myself put together. It's a direct quote, a copy and paste. So users, there's a laptop or a desktop. You know what's worse is it's a desktop. Say it's a desktop. It's a desk under which there's a desktop computer with some buttons and stuff. And there's a monitor on top and a keyboard. And there's a user, Janie, who's licensed with user SL. And she has a right to run Office Professional Plus, OPP, whatever. Don't judge me for this acronym. Office Professional Plus, traditional media, under Office Microsoft 365 from a, say, user subscription. If Jenny shares this desktop with Johnny, and Johnny is not assigned a user subscription license or a perpetual license corresponding, then the device must be licensed. So if Johnny is not licensed for that right, he may not use that computer, because what then happens is, if he uses that computer, even if he doesn't run Office on that computer, he just logs on to that computer to open, a browser, Edge, Chrome, Firefox. That's all he does. He has a potential ability to run an application that is not licensed for him to use. For Microsoft, that means that he must be licensed, because he has this potential ability. He's authorized to access this device where this Office is installed. He's not licensed to use this Office. He shouldn't be able to access it. So when you switch large organizations that are more or less homogeneous, is that the word? use the same configuration for every user. There are not that many not that many different user profiles. Then the user profiles are not that different. User personas are not that different. That's fine. You'll probably not even notice this because you will be switching from a bunch of perpetual licenses unless you somehow give them away or sell them, by the way, on a second-hand market in the European Union. We'll get to that interesting detective point in the end of this live. If you don't sell them, if you still keep them, you probably won't even notice this because this right was introduced basically for those companies that were reluctant to switch from on-premises to online due to certain compatibility issues or slow desktop re-enrollment process or any other reasons. They wanted to keep perpetual Office installed. Reasons may be multiple. I know one company, for instance, that still run Office 2010, and because it's not compatible with Exchange Online, even though they have Microsoft 365 subscriptions, they still have Exchange service that they run themselves. Incompatibility issues. They have applications, they've invested millions and millions and millions into internal applications that only run on Office 2010 and nothing else. That's it. You know, that's their situation. You probably won't even notice that. But if you start, if you sell your licenses in the European Union on this, second-hand license market, or if your user base suddenly, explodes. Right now, we're out of COVID. Every company I watch, every account I watch, is growing very fast right now. So the economy is recovering. Good thing for us. Good thing for us. And then you grow and you don't have enough licenses, perpetual licenses, you don't have enough user subscriptions, you made certain planning mistakes, just not necessarily mistakes, you didn't plan for it. Then you must actually take care of that. Firstly, all your licensed users have access to devices with traditional Office Professional Plus installed. Or you need to buy otherwise, nobody actually, it's not a mistake. Nobody prevents you from doing that. You need to buy device licenses and install on those devices where you don't have enough licenses that you get through this particular right. So don't forget about that. And the second trap not to fall into, which everybody's for some reason falling into, is forgetting that this is a local right. There are no Citrix rights. There are no VDI rights. If you have to do something in Citrix and VDI, well, firstly, Office Professional Plus in the Citrix of VDI is a big no-no for multiple reasons. You must control device access. Okay, this is an overstatement. One or two companies I've dealt with, amongst hundreds and hundreds I've dealt with, only one or two companies really controlled access per device to a VDI or to a Citrix farm or through some certain third-party applications. Very difficult to configure. So I'm not going to go into that space. I have another video on this channel that talks about traps of perks of correct configuration of Office and Project and Visio for work from home employees. Watch that, please. Hope it makes sense. And good morning again. Thank you for joining. I can see your hellos. So, seems simple. And then the last trap. The last trap is this right expires when your subscription expires. When that user subscription expires, and even if you reassign a license from a user to a user, the user without that particular license has now no right to have traditional Office Professional Plus on their device. So this is a huge software asset management headache, because now you need to actually track things that won't uninstall themselves automatically. With Office 365 Click to Run Media, Office 365 itself, to an extent, quite a good extent, tracks if a user is eligible to run local copy or not of Click to Run Media. But when you install traditional Office Professional Plus under that right, that software doesn't have that tracking ability. So you may end up in a situation when you reassigned, reshuffled the license, you hired new users, so you gave a laptop from one user to another user due to various reasons, multiple reasons. They happen every day. IT is not static, and then suddenly all these devices, all these users are non-compliant. So compliance management through this right becomes a huge headache. So I would encourage, unless you have any technical reasons to run traditional Office Professional Plus under an M365 from a, say, subscription, why would you? Anyway, if you have reason to do so, then, well, you have to improve your software asset management processes. You have to track who has access to what, and reshuffle, remove, or install software as and when. Then you need to also look after your Citrix and VDI instances and make sure you have them differently licensed. And if you already subscribed for Microsoft 365 and you decided to stay with that, then I encourage you to redeploying those traditional instances, if there are no incompatibility issues, from Office 365, click to run media. Because that thing, during any audit, is not really assessed. Because auditors know that click to run media takes care of activations itself, if it's per user. If it's per device, it's a different matter, but that's a very rare example. Hope this makes sense. It's not an easy subject. It's a nice right to have, but it's not the one that you set and forget. It's the one that is your everyday headache. And I promised you a bit of a detective story. So when Microsoft introduced this right, obviously Microsoft wanted to recognize investments of customers into perpetual licenses that they made throughout previous years with Microsoft on previous terms of the enterprise agreement. And then it wasn't consequential. It was quite a long time ago when a German court decided that corporate users in the European Union have a right to resell their use licenses freely, regardless of what the vendors have in their limitations around reselling and transfers and whatnot. So if you're in the European Union, that right still remains. And by the way, although UK has Brexited the European Union, which, forgive me for this opinion, was a huge mistake, we still, in the United Kingdom, have this right to resell software on the second-hand market. Microsoft, at some point, because, well, we're giving you discounts. We're giving you discounts for this from a say license. Then, you know what? We won't let you resell software on the second-hand market, because that's sort of unfair, because we've already given you a discount to recognize that investment. So customers, you must keep your licenses. So this caveat was added a couple of years ago. It was only removed, as far as I remember, on the 1st of either June or July this year. So Microsoft got rid of it. I don't know if that is a coincidence, if that is because there's now a case in the High Court, in the UK High Court, in which allegations against Microsoft, I'm not a lawyer, are about Microsoft stifling competition and trying to remove licenses from the second-hand market. Was that a coincidence? Was it Microsoft trying to kind of get rid of this silly rule to improve their position in that case? I don't know. So it's not there anymore, which means you may actually resell your licenses on the second-hand market if you want for the previous perpetual licenses. With one thing you have to keep in mind is that the value diminishes in time. So if it's a recent version like Office 2019, then probably its resale value is pretty good. 2016 maybe. 2013 or 2010, there's almost no demand for those licenses, even on the second-hand market now. So I hope this was informative. Please, if you still have any questions, please follow me on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to this channel. And by the way, if you like this video, if you really like what I was talking about here in this video, please click like so other people will discover this video. This helps other members of the community because that's how YouTube works. You click like, YouTube shows this to a few people that may learn something from it, that may help them better manage their licenses in the future. Thanks very much for being with me today. It's about 10:30 now, time to end this live, and save with knowledge of Microsoft licensing. Goodbye.